Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your source material and really plunge deep into a topic.
Absolutely.
And, oh boy, this week's Deep Dive is interesting. You have sent us, listeners, some material on like mystical signs and chosen ones.
Okay.
It's kind of a transcript that reads like a spiritual self-help guide.
Yeah.
So to help us navigate these waters, we have an expert with us
Happy to be here.
who can hopefully shed some light on what all of this really means.
Yeah, this idea of being chosen, it's something that's captivated humanity for centuries.
It really has.
Right.
So this transcript lays out all these signs, these experiences that might suggest, you're meant for something more. Some of them are kind of common, but then some of them are a little out there.
Sure.
Like one of them is this whole idea of feeling like an outsider in your own family.
Right.
Have you ever felt that way? Like you
Mhm.
just don't quite belong, even amongst like your closest relatives?
Well, that feeling of being different, of not quite fitting in it, is a common thread in a lot of chosen one narratives you see throughout history.
Really?
It taps into that universal human need to feel special, to have a unique purpose and destiny.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like we're almost wired to seek out meaning, to believe there's something more to life than meets the eye.
Right.
This transcript does not hold back, though.
Okay.
It even suggests that you might be chosen if you radiate a certain energy that makes other people uncomfortable.
Really?
It's almost like your inherent goodness is like intimidating to them.
Hmm. That's interesting.
It's a little out there.
It is
It's a
interesting.
little out there.
That's a fascinating point. It brings to mind the concept of social destruction, the idea that those who kind of challenge the status quo often face resistance.
Oh, okay.
You think about historical figures like Galileo or Martin Luther King Jr.,
Uh-huh.
they were all met with opposition for daring to question accepted norms.
So it's almost like this inherent light within you shines a little too bright for some people to handle.
Yeah, and that ties into another common thread in these narratives.
What's that?
This idea that being chosen often comes with a price.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not always about being showered with blessings.
Interesting.
It's about rising to meet challenges and using your unique gifts to make a difference.
So maybe those trials and tribulations aren't a sign that you're on the wrong path. Maybe they're actually a sign that you're on the right one.
Possibly, yeah.
I have to admit, that's a perspective I hadn't really considered before.
It's all about reframing those challenges, seeing them as opportunities for growth and transformation.
And speaking of transformation, this transcript also touches on the idea of personal sacrifice.
Okay.
It suggests that your purpose might involve putting the needs of others before your own,
Yeah.
even if it means making difficult choices.
Right.
It's interesting how this concept of like self-sacrifice kind of connects to a larger psychological theory called terror management theory.
Okay.
And essentially it suggests that like humans, we grapple with this fear of our own mortality,
Right.
and narratives like the chosen one archetype kind of offers a way to transcend those fears.
Yeah, that's a really insightful connection.
Re-
Yeah, this idea that being chosen for a greater purpose can provide a sense of meaning and permanence,
Yeah.
even in the face of our own impermanence. It allows us to believe that our lives have significance beyond our individual existence.
Yeah, it's almost like these narratives give us a framework for grappling with those big, like, existential questions we all face.
Yeah.
And within that framework, like, personal sacrifice becomes less about loss and more about contributing to something larger than ourselves.
Precisely. It's about finding meaning and purpose in something that transcends our individual desires.
Okay.
It's about aligning ourselves with a cause, a mission, a belief system that gives our lives a sense of purpose.
And this transcript takes that idea even further.
Okay.
It suggests that, like, true chosenness isn't just about fulfilling some predetermined destiny.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, like, actively shaping the world around you.
That's where the concept of agency comes into play, right?
Yeah.
It's not enough to simply be chosen.
Yeah.
It's about what you choose to do with that perceived calling.
Right.
It's about taking ownership of your life and making conscious choices that align with your values and purpose.
So it's about becoming the hero of your own story, even if it's not a traditional hero's journey.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about recognizing that every choice we make, no matter how small, has the potential to ripple outwards and create meaningful change.
This transcript has me thinking about the difference between being chosen and choosing yourself.
Okay.
Like maybe it's not about waiting for some external validation, but
Mm.
like recognizing that we all have the capacity for greatness within us.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. It's about embracing the idea that We are not simply passive recipients of fate,
Right.
but active participants in creating our own destinies.
Okay.
We all have unique gifts and talents, and it's up to us to cultivate those gifts and use them to make a positive impact.
This whole conversation reminds me a lot about Jungian archetypes.
Yeah.
And like the hero archetype in particular
Yeah,
really resonates with this whole idea of the chosen one.
absolutely.
It's about facing challenges, overcoming obstacles, and ultimately like achieving a greater good.
Jung believed that these archetypes are universal patterns of behavior and storytelling. They exist across cultures and throughout history.
Right.
They tap into something fundamental about the human experience.
Okay.
And the hero's journey is a particularly powerful example of that.
It's interesting how this transcript, despite its like unconventional language,
Yeah.
manages to touch on these like deep-seated psychological and mythological themes.
It speaks to the enduring power of these narratives. Whether we're talking about ancient myths or modern-day self-help guides,
Yeah.
the idea of being chosen continues to fascinate and inspire us.
And maybe that's because it speaks to something fundamental within us.
Right.
That yearning for meaning, for purpose,
Yeah.
for something that makes us feel like we're a part of something larger than ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. It's about that inherent human desire to make sense of our place in the world, to find meaning in the midst of chaos, and to believe that our lives have a purpose.
And perhaps the real takeaway here is that we don't need to wait for some external sign to tell us we're chosen. We can choose to embody those qualities of courage, kindness, and compassion.
Yes.
And in doing so, create our own sense of purpose and meaning.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about recognizing that true fulfillment often comes not from external validation, but from aligning our actions with our values, from using our gifts to make a positive impact on the world around us, and from embracing the journey even with all its challenges and uncertainties.
This deep dive has been quite a journey already, and we're not even done yet. So we've explored this idea of being chosen. We've delved into psychological theories about meaning-making, and we even touched upon ancient archetypes.
It's really amazing how these, seemingly disparate threads weave together.
They really do.
Yeah, we've gone from mystical signs to Jungian archetypes, all in the pursuit of understanding this really profound human desire to feel chosen to find our purpose.
It really highlights how much these ideas resonate on a deep subconscious level. This whole conversation has me thinking,
Okay.
what if instead of waiting for like a lightning bolt moment of chosenness,
Right.
we focused on embodying those qualities that are often attributed to like the chosen ones?
You're talking about courage, compassion, selflessness, a commitment to truth.
Yeah.
Those qualities that are often seen as hallmarks of a hero's journey.
Exactly. Like imagine a world where everyone strove to cultivate those virtues within themselves. It's almost as if by embodying those qualities, we become chosen by our own actions, by the choices that we make every single day.
That's a really powerful way to reframe this whole concept of chosenness.
Yeah.
It shifts the focus from a passive state of being to an active process of becoming. It's about recognizing that we all have the capacity for heroism, for greatness, even in the most ordinary aspects of our lives.
It's about realizing that we don't need a mystical sign to tell us we're on the right path. We can find that validation in the way we live our lives and the choices we make and in the impact we have on the world around us.
And that's maybe the most liberating realization of all.
Yeah.
We're not beholden to some preordained destiny,
Right.
We have the power to choose our own adventures, to write our own stories, and to make a difference in the world. One courageous, compassionate act at a time.
Well said. It seems like we've stumbled upon a really profound truth hidden within this unusual source material. The power to choose ourselves, to forge our own paths, and to create a more meaningful and fulfilling life, both for ourselves and for those around us.
It's a reminder that true fulfillment often comes not from external validation, but from aligning our actions with our values and striving to live a life that reflects our deepest truths.
This deep dive has taken us on quite a journey. From mystical signs to self-discovery, from ancient archetypes to modern-day psychology. And I think it's safe to say that we've unearthed some really valuable insights along the way.
Absolutely.
It just goes to show that even the most unconventional sources can spark profound conversations and lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Thank you so much for joining us on this thought-provoking exploration. It's been a pleasure diving into these ideas with you.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to our listener, thank you as always for taking this deep dive with us. We hope it's left you feeling inspired and maybe a little bit more empowered to embrace the power of choosing your own path. Until next time, Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.